뭐야, 소독해? 창문 닫아.
나도 봐. 공짜로 집안에 소독도 하고.
부모님 얼굴도 뵙고 좋더라. 건강들 하시고.
일거리가 없으셔도.
네가 내 대신 얘 과외 선생님 좀 해줘라. 영어.
대학생인 척하라는 거야?
구라를 좀 치지 뭐.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of The Good, the Bad, the Score. I'm Collin.
And I'm Andrew.
And today we're going to be talking about the Bong Joon-ho Best Picture winning film, Parasite. Now, a quick synopsis on Parasite. This is a foreign Korean film that is about a family of low poverty Koreans who infiltrate a high-end family's assistance positions. One's a tutor, two of them are tutors, one's a driver, and the other one is a housekeeper. And then these people just are just kind of pushing their luck with this family, seeing how long they could last lying in these positions. And sooner or later, things turn for the worse for them. And I will keep it at that because this is a film that very much benefits knowing very little going in. Now, Andrew, before we get into our review for this movie, me and you have a history with this movie regarding its Best Picture winning night and our reaction to it. So
I think
Andrew,
your reaction is a little more priceless.
I'll get into mine, but first, Andrew, please explain what was the problem with Parasite winning Best Picture for us.
Okay, well, I think thinking more back to it, even before beginning recording this review, I think the biggest problem for me was that we saw all the movies that were nominated for Best Picture except for Parasite. And I think the reason why we didn't decide to watch Parasite was because that, we just didn't think it was going to win Best Picture for a foreign movie. Our prediction was that it was going to win Best Foreign Film, but not Best Picture. And by the end of the night, I was just frustrated. I wasn't frustrated in the sense that the movie won. I mean, I was happy that this movie received that award for Best Picture. I thought Bong Joon-ho, the director, I hope I pronounced his name right, his speech I thought was great. And at the end of the night, I was just frustrated because that was the one movie I did not see. And I thought for once I was going to see all the Best Picture nominated movies except for one, and that was frustrating. And I think that's really the one where I can describe. I wasn't frustrated that the movie won Best Picture. I was more frustrated because that was the one film I did not see. And I hope after this Oscar season that, Hollywood will start making foreign films, being screened at a lot of theaters and not just select theaters, or not having them screened after the Oscars are over. Because that always frustrates me. I knew about this movie before the award season started. Because I looked up, midway through 2019 of what were the best movies of the year. And people were saying Parasite. So I was aware of it. But it wasn't playing at barely any theaters. They're only putting at very select few theaters, outside of our town. So, But great for that movie, and I'm really excited to talk about this night. So how about you, Collin? What did you think? Well, your reaction?
So similar to you, I was mad when it won Best Picture. Not only because I had bets on the Oscars,
yeah,
and all of them went into flames, but also I always have it too. I'm very adamant on I want to see all the Best Picture nominations. However, after a while, I always have to be like, give myself that one that I'm like, it ain't gonna win. That it's very, like you're saying, Andrew, that it's very inaccessible to try and see it in a theater. I always give myself that one, and unfortunately this year the one was Parasite. I am the absolute worst when it comes to foreign language films. I'm so glad we started our podcast after the Oscars, because if we did it that night of, literally it would have been a complete disaster, because I was angry. I was so mad. I was saying literally all the things that those assholes on the internet are saying about, oh, I don't want to read a film. Why can't it be in English and all that? Yada, yada. I was so back. I hated the fact. Thinking of it now, I hated the fact that I was so ignorant on that, especially how I didn't see the film yet.
Me too.
So then the very next day, I said, okay, I got to sit down and watch it. And I literally, Andrew, you could testify this. I was going in with a very negative attitude. I would say that because of the previous year, you had the Alfonso Cuarón movie Roma. Now, Roma is a film that I'll say it up front. I didn't finish Roma watching it on Netflix. I don't even know how long I got, but just it felt so much like the typical Oscar art house movie. Like, it's in black and white, it's in Spanish, and it's very serious and it's very depressing. Again, this is not people, your audiences. You literally can make fun of me the fact that I didn't finish the film, but I found it very uninteresting, not that engaging.
I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah,
I did not find Roma interesting at all. I didn't like them, and I think that's why I kind of doubted this.
Exactly, that's what I thought, because I thought it was going to be another film where it's like, it's very much like an Oscar bait movie where like they're trying way too hard to get that Oscar, and I felt from the limited time I've seen Roma, that's how I feel, is that it was something that it needed. It wasn't entertaining. Which I felt like very much like it's for a select audience. And with Parasite, I thought the exact same thing. And boy, when I actually went and watched Parasite, was I completely wrong. I went back on everything I said the night prior about Parasite. Andrew, I am going to have you start off with the good about Parasite. Tell me what you liked about Parasite.
Well, I think first things first, what started to begin my attention about this movie during the award season was when this film won the SAG Award for Outstanding Cast. And I gotta say, this is probably my number one favorite thing about this movie is the cast. This movie has a great cast. I think every one of them do a hell of a job in this movie. There's one particular scene I really feel like this cast really stands out as a whole, and it's that I don't want to give too much away, but I do want to point this scene out. There's a part of the movie where the Kim family, they're the protagonists of this whole film, and they're trying to get rid of this housekeeper of the Parks house, and that whole scene is so damn funny. Like, they're all great in it.
Funny?
It was just such a funny scene how they're trying to, like, you know, get this woman out of the house, and like the writing. It was so.
I wouldn't call it funny.
You didn't think that was funny in the first half of the movie, like that part?
We'll get into it, but please continue.
But I really loved that scene. It was I just thought it was so funny, and like the dad, the actor who plays the dad is Kang Ho Song. I really hope I'm pronouncing this right. I apologize if I'm not. But the one that plays the dad in the movie,
Kang Ho Song.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Good. The one who plays the dad, I love his facial expression when he like takes the tissue because they're trying to like cover up that this woman has a really bad like tuberculosis disease, and he just holds the paper towel with like buffalo sauce, hot sauce on it. He just gives like this facial expression in slow-mo, and I thought that was just great. But that whole scene was so well done. It was so well written, and I thought the cast did such a great job of that moment. Like, I remember even I got to see this in the theater, which I was glad, and the audience was laughing at that scene. I thought it was a funny moment, and going off about the actor who plays the dad, Kang Ho Song.
Kang Ho Song.
Kang Ho Song. all right, whatever. But he's great in this movie. He's really great. He plays the dad. He's funny, and he's also really sincere. He really stands out in the second half of this movie, the final act. He just really blows me away. Just like he gives like this really good monologue about, making what's right and what's wrong when making a plan, and sometimes you just have to just go with it or not go with it. And another thing that this movie really captures, that what this director does, is that I like the whole relationship of this lower class family along with this upper class family. You kind of see both sides of this environment that both these families live. They live in totally different worlds. And that to me I thought was really powerful, especially how it shows the really bitter, gritty side of living as a lower class citizen in any environment. But there's definitely a moment that really impacts you, where there's like this whole storm happening. There's like this sewage flood that's happening in their area, and it's really disgusting. It's unsettling, but it's trying to prove a point of this is what it's like living in these areas, or just being that individual. Yeah, so that's what I liked about it too. It shows the struggles of living in these tough areas, and I think this Hone does an outstanding job. He really captures this film both cinematically and even just as an individual. So I'm really glad I got to see this on the big screen. I think this was probably the first time I actually got to see a foreign film on the big screen. So I was really glad to see that, and glad I was wrong. This movie was really good. I think this was better than Roma. This movie was fun. It's definitely got humor in it, and I definitely was laughing at the jokes a lot, and it knew when it needed to be serious. So this was a very fascinating movie that I got to see. So that's pretty much my good about this movie.
So I'm gonna jump on the fact that you got to see this in theaters. I unfortunately did not get to see this in theaters, and I do regret not seeing it in theaters. Yeah. I just watched it by the time the Oscars came on. Seeing how I literally wanted to watch it the next morning, I had the chance to rent it, but the moment I was done with it, I wanted to see this in a theater, and I regret that I didn't. But going into you saying, Andrew, you're right that I like the fact that this is no, you know what? I'll start off with the comment I was talking about earlier. The fact that scene with the tissue and the soy sauce was funny. At first, I wouldn't call this a funny movie. What I would call this is like a little bit of a relatable movie, per se. Not to a certain point. No.
I mean, it's not a comedy, but I mean, it has jokes in it. I mean, it's a comedy drama. I kind of took it.
It has some comedic. How I kind of describe it is this movie is kind of split into two parts. The first part I kind of consider it like a heist movie, to where I barely, as much as like they are a legit family, I see them more as like each members of a heist, to where like each person has a job. They infiltrate the rich people's house to kind of get high paying jobs and kind of live the life that these rich people get the chance to do. I think that much is where the humor comes into play, to where it feels as much as they're committing a crime, it feels very lighthearted. All the characters are very relatable. I like the fact that even on both sides, none of them it doesn't seem like a one-sided movie, and even if it does, it seems more like the rich people are the nicer ones than the poor people. But I digress in the fact that there wasn't like a villain per se. Like, you saw both sides. I felt the Kim family was very much just like a very likable family. They weren't like evil rich people or anything like that. Like, everyone has their flaws in this movie, and I thought that all the characters, the entire cast, was very well performed and extremely well written. I will say, going into, as I very much am the kind of person that doesn't like foreign films, I realized with this movie why I'm not the kind of person for foreign films is that I always find it that any foreign film I watch, there's a loss in translation when it comes to the culture of the movie. With Roma, I believe the film's set in Mexico, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that so
I think it's
not only the
Roma. I
fact-
think that's where it's called. That's where it takes place.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
The title, but yeah, I think that's where it takes place.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that not only, well, you can consider Roma a relatable movie in per se. The fact that it's in black and white, it's very much artsy. That kind of took me out of it. I can't think of any other foreign films in the top of my head, but a lot of them are like anything like in China or Japanese. It's in the culture of Japan that I personally cannot connect with. I find a little foreign per se. So with this movie, what I was surprised by is that how almost instantly I connected to these people. The poor. I can't. Do you know what's the name of the poor family?
The poor family.
Yeah.
The Kims. I think that's what.
No, the Kims are the rich people.
I thought the Kim. I thought the Kim were the. I thought the rich people were called the Park family.
No, I'm sorry. You're right,
Yeah.
Andrew. The Kims are the poor people. The Parks are the rich family.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction.
No
but,
problem. Did my homework.
I liked. You did. I thought that the Kim family was instantly relatable. The fact that they're worried about Wi-Fi, how they're living in poverty. It didn't feel like something to where I felt left out. Where like, okay, I'm not understanding this culture and all that. It was instantly relatable. For the most part, this isn't a very relatable movie for anyone. Whether everyone has those insecurities about wealth and their appearance, their hygiene, stuff like that, to where even if this movie was in English, literally 95% of this movie would be perfectly relatable to anyone across the world. This is a very universal movie that is just in Korean. I'm trying to save some of my positives for a second, but I like the fact that this is a movie to where it's very flawed. Every single person in this movie is flawed. How one thing, well, both of us are able to see this movie at least twice, and I liked it that as much as I don't think the second time holds up as well, because this is a movie that really benefits from just kind of going in blind, which is why we're not going into too many plot details. But the second time viewing it, I completely saw a different light with the Kim family. How the first time I thought of them as one way, and then the second time I really saw like the undermining flaws with them, which I thought was very deep. Another thing, my final thing that I'll mention about what I really like about this movie is that the ending, which again we're not going to give away, is very up to your interpretation. How what I think of the movie's ending is completely different to even the director Bong Joon-ho's interpretation and what he was meant for. I found it that there's a lot of themes about this movie, not only just about like the rich versus the poor, but so much about how, as much as I feel like I learned a little bit about Korean culture and how the importance of like hygiene, honor, privacy. There's so much about this that makes me feel like I'm having a history lesson while entertaining me as well, because you're seeing this family from the completely different side of the world of where we're at, and how the values they have and what's considered to be frowned upon and what's considered to be like high class is showcased. So I do think as much as I'm a person that is very minimal about how interested I am in other cultures, which I'm sorry if that offends you, but just I'm someone who struggles to kind of see a different light with other people across the world. This is a movie that literally opened my eyes a little bit and made me a little bit more interested in seeing how other people live across the world.
Yeah, no, it's... Yeah, I mean, I think that's... Watching this movie kind of gave me a new understanding about foreign films, not just from, like, a cinematic standpoint, but I guess from, like, you know, learning about when you watch these type of films like Parasite or Roma. I mean, I've seen a couple other foreign films in the past, too, but you do get a sense of their way of living, of, you know, where the story takes place. And I think with Parasite, for this one particularly, it felt more impactful by the end I was watching this movie. But what you said too, like when I watched this the second time, my thoughts too on both of the families went totally a different route. Because the first time I'm like watching this, I'm like, I'm rooting for them, and then the second time, I'm kind of like, I don't know now. But you like, I appreciate that they're hustlers. The family are hustlers. But like, some of the decisions they make, you do have to question, even when you watch it a couple more times, like whether their decisions was justified or not.
Definitely. This is not a generic Hollywood movie, or I don't know what they call movies in Korean. Oh, Korea, sorry.
Yeah.
But this is a very complex movie where legit, it's very. I think aside from the fact that some people don't like to read subtitles, this is a very entertaining movie that both has its highs, positives, and high meaning like the best of times and the worst of times, and some very. By the second half of the movie gets very violent and sexual.
It goes a total 360.
It does.
It totally just shifts into like
not only
like another just story.
Yeah. Especially the ending. It is very mature and disturbing movie. But there's a scene in the middle that's very sexual, which I did not see coming. Which it was. Yeah. Angie, let me take this over. You talk about that scene. How did that scene make you feel, buddy?
I would not want to be under a table and something like that happens.
I think secretly you would, but I digress. All of us would. Either way.
I mean, listen. If that ever happened to me, I probably would start laughing. If that,
that's the problem. That's the thing. You would start laughing like on if I
was in a room with something like that, if I witnessed something like that happening, I would totally start giggling.
Okay. On that
was something. That scene.
Even the second time, it was very much like, I'm glad I'm watching this by myself and not like. That's the one time I'm like, okay, yeah. Or even in a theater, I'm like, this is awkward.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the bad about Parasite. I'll start off with what I found a little negative about Parasite. And it's a little unfair to say because this complaint came in after my second viewing, where I don't think this movie is as rewatchable as I thought it was after my first viewing. Because the first time seeing it, where I knew nothing about it, I was very into it. Like every single turn was very much like I was on the edge of my seat. I really did not know what was going next. But the second time, knowing everything that's going on, I take it down a little bit. It's still very entertaining, but especially in the middle, it starts to drag a little bit because it's like a little, I don't even want to say slow, but a little like you're seeing more of the flaws. Like, for example, the pivotal scene between the Kims and two people that I won't say who they are. I found it the entire time like this could have easily been resolved if you were thinking if you were thinking less about yourself and you were more about how to kind of keep your skin going or keep from getting yourself exposed. Which that's not really a flaw, but just the idea of like it took me out of it. It's like I could have thought of a better way of getting to this. It does address this bit I'm talking about. It's so hard to talk without spoilers how vague it is.
Yeah,
they do address it, but
tough.
I'm like
I almost kind of want to spoil it, but I know there's people who probably haven't seen this yet, but you
kind of want to call them like you idiots. Like if you were smarter, you would have got you would have got out of it a lot better than you did, which that's the point of it. They're smart, but they're not exactly. You always need to have a fall and all that.
That's how I felt the second time too.
Yeah, but the biggest problem I have about it is one character's actions at the very end, which completely shapes the epilogue into how it goes. I found it very much unearned. I didn't feel like they set up this rivalry enough. Maybe it's because of my lack of Korean culture regarding one subject involving hygiene. I found it that it was something to where it wasn't the stakes weren't high enough to where it's like, okay, I can understand where this character was heading and why they did this action. To me, I just kind of saw it as like the first time I saw it, I found it very shocking. I really didn't think it was a flaw, but the second time, I kind of took a step back and like, this really doesn't make all that much sense because I feel like it betrays this character a little bit. Andrew, you might agree with me. I hope you understand. I hope you get what scene I'm talking about. But I found it to where there's so much build up and great payoff in this movie, both disturbing and like rewarding. But this one character's actions, I felt like it wasn't set up right to where it's like, okay, I get your side of it. I was with this character throughout the entire film. I thought they're the most relatable character. But then they did this action, and I felt like you lost me there. I felt like you didn't need to do that. Andrew, what do you think about my comments, and what are your negatives about Parasite?
Now that you brought that up, I can understand your negativity there in terms of accepting those characters' actions at the end. But I'll just go to my flaws. I mean, I have very little flaws about this movie, believe it or not. I mean, I have very little flaws. I think the one negative I have about Parasite is the ending. I just felt when it got to the end, when the whole climax happens, it felt kind of rushed, and I just felt like it might have needed a little bit. I wouldn't mind, honestly, if they add another 15 minutes of it just to kind of
really.
Yeah, I really would have, if you know what I'm talking about, because
yes,
it's hard not to give it away, but like when the climax happens and it shows you the aftermath, I would have liked something maybe just a little bit more, maybe just getting a little bit more glimpse and seeing if, I mean, I guess that was the point of the movie, see if this hypothesis that this character has goes through. But that's really my one complaint. I just felt the ending was a little bit, it got a little rushed after that big moment in the movie. It felt like it just got a little rushed, but I guess they just wanted to like wrap it up and just tell you what's gonna go down. But
so you're saying the epilogue to where after this big action happens, you wanted more out of that, or during the actual like climactic action?
I mean, I actually wanted a little bit more out of the epilogue. I did, because I was a little confused by the epilogue. But by watching the second time now, I did understand it. But I still would have liked a little bit more in that epilogue. But I kind of felt like the director was probably just like, let's just wrap this up. Just kind of find a way to like make it short and sweet. But
that's the one thing. I felt. Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
I felt that the timing on the Parasite is 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with the fact that if this was 15 minutes longer, I would have so many more negative. Well, I would
really
have another big negative. I felt like once it was wrapping up, I was ready for it to wrap up. I don't think adding any time would have benefited.
I know. I mean, I disagree. I think they could. I personally think they could have added maybe just a little bit more to that epilogue part. But going back to what you said about the decision about that climax, yeah, I was really confused the first time I saw it. I was totally lost. I was so confused. I did not see that coming, but I guess that was the point of it, to not see that coming. But then when I saw it the second time, I was really trying to notice every little detail that happens from start to finish. And I kind of understand now. I understand a little bit why that character decided to do that. But I think I understand why I did. I had it. I mean, I don't want to hint at. I mean, I just sort of not to spoil anything, but like I just wanted to like. I do think they needed some more clarification on why that character did it. Why that character made that leap of faith, and like the second time I saw it, I understand. I do kind of understand why they did it. Like it was trying to point out in regards of hygiene. Which that's pretty much what I believe. That's why the character goes with that gut. But
there's a loss in translation with that, because I know, like I don't think on the Chinese culture, I'm definitely the Korean with this. They very much have that class of like you need to be hygienic, you need to worry about your appearance and all that. So I kind of learned that hygiene is very big on that, but I got it. I'll stop it there.
Yeah.
Before we get into the score, Andrew, I do have one question I want to talk about.
Right.
Why do you think, out of all the foreign movies that come out, this is the one to kind of hit hard with Hollywood, to where it won Best Picture? Right now, it's the second most watched movie of any movie on Hulu.
Is it
Why
really?
is it? Yes.
Wow.
So,
Okay. I
Parasite,
take it
which
all
was
back.
released, if a week, not even a week ago, definitely a couple weeks ago, not even a month. Parasite was put on Hulu Plus, and it is now the second most watched movie of Hulu history.
Wow.
Why do you think this is, Andrew? Why do you think Parasite is the foreign film to kind of hit hard and get a lot of people to watch a subtitled movie?
Well, I think when I was watching the second time, it's hard to answer that question. But I personally feel like from watching this, I mean, there's so much happening right now in today's world. There's so much happening with this pandemic, and I feel like this pandemic's affecting so many people, and just even before this, the world we're living in has shifted a lot, and I think this movie can relate in a lot of ways, both as an individual and culturally as well. If you kind of know what I'm saying, but
Definitely.
but I think that's why. I mean, I personally think this pandemic has a lot to do with it. I mean, this is a global shock that's happening right now, and maybe this is an opportunity for for all of us to learn about cultures like in Korea or any other foreign country. So I
That's the thing,
think that because when I was watching it again, I definitely I don't know, it kind of just felt, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it just felt like it's just felt very relatable even right now. It kind of feels like the type of movie that a lot of people can really appeal to during this difficult time.
Definitely. You said all the words I wanted to say. This is a very, what I like about it is that it's a relatable movie. It's about the family dynamic, how kind of like a heist movie. It's very much not like, as much as there's some things lost in translation, the majority of it people get. I think it's just the human condition, what we all think, families, what we kind of want. We always want better, and so on. So, Angie, great job with that answer. I think you kind of hit it on the head, to where this is just a very relatable movie that in quarantine a lot of people discovered, and luckily it's getting the traction it deserves.
Right.
So now we're gonna get into the scores of it, which I believe we're gonna have the same score. I'm gonna take a guess. So as always, we always try and guess each other's score out of 1 to 10.
Yes.
So Andrew, I want you to start off. What do you think I'm gonna give Parasite?
Okay. It's definitely gonna be a high score. It's definitely not a 10
Yeah.
out. It's definitely not. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10. I think you're gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
So after our infamous Oscar night where we bashed this movie, after watching it, I was gonna give it a 10 out of 10 because I was so surprised how much I loved Parasite. However, that would be unfair because that has completely personal history, how my expectations are so low and they came out so high. And then definitely after the second time, I noticed some flaws about the movie, some things that I would change, and there's still that 5% of things that personally I can't completely understand. But to some audiences, this is definitely a 10 out of 10 movie for some people. But you are right, Andrew. I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna say the exact same thing for you. I think you're gonna give Parasite a 9 out of 10.
So, just backtracking. I had a lot of doubt about this movie. I thought this movie was gonna be, very overrated. Watch this. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe in 20 years from now, it could be overrated. I don't think so, but I really enjoyed watching it both times. It's a very impactful movie. It's entertaining and it's very tragic at the same time. But Colin, yes, you're right. It is a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. We're getting good at this.
Yeah, I know we are. I didn't even read anything off of that, but yeah, I was really debating all day. I was torn between giving it an 8 or a 9, but
Oh, really? An 8?
or like an 8.5, but I decided
I was always in the 9 category.
Yeah.
I think this is a very important film.
Yeah.
A film that, again, it's both of us were so going in like grumpy, like, oh, this is gonna be a painful sit, and it was very entertaining.
Yeah, it's
it's
a really good movie. I think a lot of
It is.
I would
Definitely go
recommend
watch
this
it.
movie to anybody. I mean, just give it a shot. I
Just
think you'll
understand
enjoy
it is subtitled.
Yeah, I mean that's I kind of feel they should have English voiceovers, but
Now, honestly,
But
I was very much like that. I disagree.
well, I mean, I'm just saying for some
make
some
an
people.
English adaptation.
Yeah.
Make an English, which I think they're doing for HBO. They're doing an English adaptation of Parasite.
Yeah.
Like a miniseries, but we'll get to that when we come across that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank everyone for watching The Good, the Bad, the Score. Please let us know what you think of this review and follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you watch this on YouTube, please go to our SoundCloud, Good Bad Score. Literally anywhere you search Good Bad Score, you'll find us.
Follow us
so
on
Andrew-
Facebook, Instagram. We're everywhere. Follow
Everywhere
us.
you go, majority of the time we have a platform for it, so please follow.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for watching.
And
Please
share
wash your
share the
hands.
video. Share the
Share the video,
share it.
and everyone stay safe.
Yes. Stay safe.